Atimarandasya Karangana Saraka Chatsurun Militam Yanatashmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yanabhutare Swayam Rupakaram Yam Darati Swapanadikam Vandeham Sri Guru Siyata Parakamaram Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Sam Sri Rupam Sagadatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Stam Sajevam Sadvaitam Sabadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shivishikhanvitam Sam Narayanam Namaskritam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayodir Nashta Preshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamashoki Bhakti Bhavati Naishtaking Nigamakaparugaritam Param Shukamakaramita Drapi Samitam Pibata Bhagatam Rashamarya Mahora Hora Supikaram Krishna Swadam Apagate Dhamagini Karonashta Drishamasha Paranako Dunoditam Tamapiyadabhishuta Vishatam Vibhu Samapiyadana Biram Ribuksaram Prakyahiduhur Mahorari Takaram Sankleshanabanamasanti Nanyatam Anarto Pashamam Shakshad Bhakti Yoga Logasajano Chakra Satpara Samitam Abmaramashnamunaya Nigrantiya Korvantiya Tikamitam Bhutaganahari Om Aganati Maranda Sangana Gana Sarkya Chaksurun Meditam Yanatashmai Sri Guravanama Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yanabhutare Swayam Rupakaramayam Darati Swaparantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Siyata Parakamanam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Sri Rupam Sagadatam Sahagana Lakantam Vitam Stam Satevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shivishikhan Vitam Sja Nama Om Vishnu Paraya Krishna Pasaya Bhutade Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tanamane Namaste Sarasati Devi Gauravani Pachari Nivashes Sanivadi Vaskada Desarharine Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Thanks for joining, Rob, on Zoom. Look forward to your takeaways at the end of this. Jean's first one to jump on, Brent Spencer, second one to jump on. Brent went to San Jose, California this past weekend, or the weekend before that. Spent some time with Vaisheshika, wonderful devotee. He aspires to take initiation from him, so that process is underway. Wish him all good luck. He's chosen person well capable of giving shelter. Good morning, Bhai Bhavi. Good morning, Carmen. Look forward to your rhymes also during the course of this. Hope I can provide the grist for both your and Rob's creative talents. Yesterday we talked about what to speak of pure chanting, devotional, attentive chanting, even indirect chanting, even imitator chanters get benefit. However you approach Krishna, as long as Krishna is part of the equation, you're always going to be purified. We do the festive colors. We've done it since 1995 here on the temple property in Spanish Fort. Frankly, most of the people who come to the festive colors have no idea what it's all about. They just know it's a good party, a good time. We ban drugs and alcohol and cigarettes. We chant the names of the Lord on Saturday from 10 in the morning to 5 at night for 7 hours. Chant the names of the Lord. People dance and sing. They take prasadam. I give talks. I try to share the philosophy with them from on stage, but most of them don't probably get it. It doesn't sink in. Some do, but most probably not. But it doesn't matter, because even they come in a frivolous mood, they are chanting, in fact, for hours and hours at a time. These are people that may not have ever chanted once in their whole lives, and they happen upon the color festival, whatever their reasons are for attending or buying a ticket. Maybe they're just following their friends or doing what everybody else is doing. They have no more deeper reason than that. And yet they dip, they have a dip in the ocean of the holy name, and they get a taste unlike any taste they've ever received before. They may not recognize it right away as a transcendental taste that it is, because most of the stimuli of people in general is very gross on the animalistic level. And so when something subtle, sublime comes along, they don't have the sensitivity to recognize it for what it is. But having tasted the nectar, says someone who's tasted the nectar of Krishna's lotus feet, even if it's been without a lack of, with a lack of purpose or intention, even if it's accidentally or incidentally or coincidentally, still one can never forget that nectar ever again. And one's life is changed, whether one likes it or not. One will not ultimately be satisfied until one crosses the holy name again in the future, crosses the devotees. Most people who became devotees heard the chanting of Hare Krishna, met the devotees at some public place, and they felt a sense of comfort. They felt a sense of belonging. They felt that some or other, their steps had led them home. And that's because of their previous experiences with the chanting of the holy name of the Lord as well. Sorry, I just got a text message bump up my screen with a little ding on it. So even imitation chanters, like we mentioned, when Advaitacharya was calling out for the advent of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Chaitanya came on the dark moon night, the Ekadasi night, and the whole of India was chanting. Not everyone was chanting consciously, intentionally. Most people were just chanting because it was the custom, because they have a erroneous idea that Ekadasis are inauspicious, and they're chanting to counteract the inauspicity, or some were chanting because the devotees were chanting and then they were making fun of the devotees. They were chanting derisively. Some were chanting, the custom is to go into the Ganges water up to your waist while there was the eclipse of the moon. So maybe some people were chanting because the water was cold. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. There may have been all kinds of reasons for chanting, most of which were less than serious, and were certainly not part of a consistent pattern of behavior. And yet it said that when Lord Chaitanya left the planet, he took every soul back home, back to Caru with him. He didn't leave anyone behind. You know, they have that saying in the Marine Corps, they don't leave any of their comrades behind, even if they've lost their lives on the battlefield. They will risk their lives to retrieve the bodies, get them back home. Lord Chaitanya used that term in a much less morbid sense. Lord Chaitanya's motto was, leave no one behind. And when he left the planet, because people knew about him, people had chanted, even if it was to make fun or accidentally or unintentionally. Anyone who cohabited the planet at the time Lord Chaitanya was present went back to home, back to God. When Lord Chaitanya went back to home, back to God. Such is the mercy of the Lord. I'm going to share my song with you again, as if I haven't done it 2 or 3 times already, but I take every opportunity to share a song or a poem or rap, because that way it gets embedded, becomes automatically. I can produce it without conscious thought. Gajendra, the king of the elephants, sported on a heavy planet, courted his wives in a lotus-filled lake, cavorted in the water. He'd snorted some honey with his trunk, and he was quite drunk. A crocodile latched onto his leg with its jaws, and though he trampled and stampeded, he couldn't get the croc to withdraw. Through this tug of war, Gajendra realized he was losing the fight to stay upright. He's being dragged further from the shore. Nagged by the reptile, his strength was flagging day by day, lacking the backing of the other pachyderms. Gajendra realized he was quite alone in this danger zone. The water had turned to foam, his friends had flown. There was no one to foam. Devoid of his fabled strength, reaching the end of his rope's length, Gajendra's hopes turned to the Lord, who awards protection to his devotees. He stopped pulling his leg, which the crocodile wanted to devour in his trunk. He plucked a lotus flower from the muck of the lake and offered it, seeking the Lord's power. Krishna, you are the root of creation, the fruit of the Vedas, the absolute truth. who plays on your flute, the ever-existing youth. Your lotus feet are adored by Lord Brahma, and Shiva will never leave you, even for a beat. Your features are unlimited. You're the ingredient of all creatures. Whether they have hands, jaws, claws, or paws, they are all your parts and parcels. Those who are smart engage in your devotional service and never depart from the hearth of your sheltering breaths. Lord, I confess that I've messed up. I've repressed my service. I've failed the test. But I'm thirsty for your mercy, which is bigger than my mistakes. I've heard that all it takes to get your protection is a single cry of helpless affection. Lord, in spite of my shame, I'm calling your name in the middle of the fight. Please reclaim me from the might of the crocodile's bite. Release me from the teeth of the croc. Block ignorance in my life. Lock me into your devotional service. Let my purpose rise again, once again, to the service. Lord, I'm knocking at the door. Keep me close from now until evermore. When the Lord heard the eloquent prayers of the elephant, he steered Guru to the spot and sheared the crocodile's head from his body with his chakra. When the reptile lay dead and Gajendra was shed of his dread, he resumed the thread of his prayers and said, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I've heard it. All it takes is a single cry of helpless affection. That's what Gajendra had in common with Draupadi. Draupadi was outmatched. The odds were against a 90-pound woman in the assembly of strong, lusty men. They were inflamed by their lust, carried away by the wave of lust, and particularly Dusasana, 300-pound linebacker type guy, was trying to disrobe her. She let go of her sari, both hands, and put them in the eye and said, Krishna, Krishna, Govinda, Govinda. And that simple cry of helpless affection was enough to invoke the Lord in a subtle form, who doled out from the opposite side of Draupadi unlimited sari. And as much as Dusasana was taking off with the hope of coming to the end of it and stripping Draupadi naked, he never came to the end of it. He got tired and eventually fell exhausted on the floor. Similarly, we talked yesterday about Ajamil, Atana Mahapanajam Krishaga Shaga, Niskritam Tadasho Bhagavan Nama, Mriyamana Sama Gritaham. It says that Krita Shesh Aga, Aga means sins, Asheksha means unlimited sins. Nishkritam means just by chanting out in a helpless condition, the name of his youngest son. Ajamil was not even calling out the name Narayan, consciously thinking of the Lord. Rather, he was calling out the name of his youngest son, who happened to be called Narayan. And yet by that chanting, which certainly was far from pure, Krita Shaga Niskritam, he achieved the negation of Ashesha Aga, unlimited sins. Because he chanted in a helpless condition at the moment of death, when he was being approached by the agents of Yamaraj, the Yamadutas, he was able to counteract more sins than he could have committed. There are many instances of unconscious chanting. There's a story of a Muslim. In Muslim language, the name for condemned is Haram. So one Muslim was being killed by a wild bull in the jungle. And because bulls are forbidden, boars are forbidden, pigs are forbidden to the Muslims, he thought he was so unfortunate that of all the different means by which he would meet his death, being gored by a boar, he thought was the most inauspicious. So he uttered at the time of his death the Muslim word for inauspiciousness, haram, but paradoxically, because this 3-syllable word or 2-syllable word contained the name of Brahm, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he got a type of liberation. It is said in the 6th canto of the Bhagavatam, Sankecham parihasam cha, strotum helanam eva cha, Vaikuntha namagrahana ashashega. Again, we have that ashashega, same word, which was in the previous verse describing Ajamil, Ashesha, unlimited. Aga means sins, and Haram means destroy. One destroys the reactions of more sins than one can commit, even by less than ideal chanting. What are some of the categories of less than ideal chanting? Sankecha means an assignation, That means that if someone asks you directions, you're walking along the street and a three-wheeler or a taxi or maybe another pedestrian comes up to you and says, where is Ram Leela Madan? Where is the park which is named after Ram? Where is Hari Navas? Where is the street called Hari Navas, the abode of Hari or Krishna? Where's Ram Nagar, the bazaar named Ram? Or Krishna Kutir, Krishna's gardens. In India, it's so wonderful because everything has a devotional name. Radhika Jewelers. You ask, what's the way to Radhika Jewelers? Or how do I get to Vaikuntha travel agencies? So if you're the person who's being asked for directions, and in giving the directions, you point and you repeat the name, Ram Leela Madan, Hari Navas, Ram Nagar, Krishna Kutir, that is called accidental chanting, and it destroys more sins than you could commit. What's a second category of less than ideal? Parihasya. Hasya means smile or laugh. One sees the Hare Krishnas wearing bed sheets, pigeon poop on their foreheads, shaven heads, chrome domes, and one just thinks this is the most hilarious, odd thing that one has ever seen in one's life. And so one elbows one's associates in the ribs, and you all jump in, and as a derisory practice, mocking the devotees, you start chanting Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, and dancing. You can go on YouTube, type Oxford Street, London, Hare Krishna chanters. Devotees have been chanting for 2+ hours up and down Oxford Street, the busiest street in the world, for over 50 years. And you see lots and lots of videos of pedestrians and passersby, tourists from other countries, as well as local Brits, jumping in and chanting. And their idea is to make fun, to do it in a derisory, mocking way. And yet, even as they do that, you can see how they get caught up in the ecstasy of the chanting. And the spirituality will not be denied. It will not be repressed. So even by derisory chanting, one can still counteract the results of agesha, ashesha, agam, the reactions of more sins than one can commit in multiple lives. What's the fourth category, Stan? Stobhyam, chanting as if in a musical concert. Now it's very, very common to have kirtan singers, people with talented musical abilities, with good vocals. They charge high fees just to come and chant the name of the Lord. The name of the Lord should never be sold in the marketplace. One should never trade upon one's chanting abilities or musical abilities in order to earn a living. This is offensive chanting. Chanting is meant to be about Krishna. It's not meant to be about any particular individual, no matter how endowed they are. Because after all, if they sing nicely, that's a gift of Krishna. It's not to their credit, but it's Krishna who should be honored. So selling tickets to kirtans, $20, $30, $40 to a kirtan, is certainly discouraged, and yet it goes on all over the place. Every time I invite artists to the Festival of Colors, their first question is, how much are you going to pay me? But still, this stobhyam, this selling the holy name, which is very, very common, very, very rife nowadays. Still, even under those less than ideal circumstances, it's discouraged to be a professional kirtanya. We had a visit from Agni Dev recently. Agni Dev has been chanting Hare Krishna since the 70s. He's originally from Trinidad. He has a beautiful voice. And Agni Dev and I go way back in the early 80s. When I was in Los Angeles, I organized a Festival of India. We had a truck very similar to our Festival of Colors truck. We had tents and exhibits. And we went to all the colleges in Southern California, as well as street fairs. We would offer this exposition of Indian culture free of charge, with the stipulation that we could sell food and have a boutique. So we did quite well. We did most of the colleges in Southern California. We even went to Arizona. We went to Oregon at one point, Northern California. I have a whole folder of glowing letters of recommendation from college presidents and teachers and sponsors, colleges all over Southern California, USC, Golden West College, Occidental College, you name it. And Agni Dev used to be our go-to guy. We always used to ask Agni Dev to come with Abhiram Das, a couple other musicians, and he would chant. And he never asked money. He never asked money in those days. Even now, he travels all over the world at the invitation of devotees. He chants. He's a great storyteller, a mesmerizing storyteller. He liked it here in Utah, by the way. He really loved it. And he made a pact with me that he's going to come back and we're going to hike to the hot springs. After I described the hot springs to him, he said he has to come back and hike the hot spring. Anyway, he never, ever asked for money since the 70s when he was president of Laguna Beach Temple, doing program. He never set a price. He never said, well, if you want me to come and chant, it'll cost my airfare, Airbnb, and $500. He never said that. He never said that. But he will accept. He'll accept. He told me he never asked any money, but the temple will give him $200, $300. And he accepts that because after all, this is time of his life. Time is valuable. So if he gives of his time and his talents, you can't just take that and not acknowledge it. You cannot have that without quid pro quo. In fact, the idea of giving a donation to a teacher or to someone who has extraordinary talent, it's believed that if you don't, let's say you go and you take a yoga class and the yoga class is donation based. Our yoga classes here in Salt Lake, in Spanish Fort, Monday through Thursday, they're donation based. And there's people who breeze right through and avoid giving any sort of donation whatsoever. It's believed that they do not get the benefits of the yoga class, even though they spend 45 minutes stretching and learning new postures. It is said that the benefits of that yoga class coming from that teacher, if you do not reciprocate, if you do not give an offering to that teacher, the effects of the yoga class are nullified. They become null and void. You have to reciprocate. You have to acknowledge the teacher themselves. If they're pure, if they're actually a worthy mentor, they'll not sell themselves. They'll not stipulate a price. But you have to be high-minded enough to offer a donation. And if you're such a low-class person that you refuse to give quid pro quo, to reciprocate, to show gratitude to someone who's further along in a particular area than you are, and from whom you've just learned something, if you take that for granted and you're so jaded that you withhold any sort of reciprocal gift, then you don't get the benefits of that class. They become null and void. So in any way, the teacher, Agni Dev, never asks for a fee, but wherever he goes, people donate it. I told him I wanted to buy some of his CDs. And he said, no. He said, you don't have to buy any CDs. You don't have to buy any CDs. I said, no, I want to buy it. So I said, I want one CD. I gave him a check for $251. So when he saw the check, then he realized what I was doing. I wasn't just buying a CD, but I was using the purchase of a CD as a pretext for reciprocating. That's called dakshin, recognition of someone's superior. It says, Gunadikam Madam Shepanukasham Maitram Samada Nata Perapira. Narada Muni advises Dhruva Maharaj of the means by which one can live peacefully in human society. How one orients oneself vis-a-vis other people at different levels. Said that one should be very happy when one meets a superior. One should be delighted. It's your good fortune that you come into contact with someone who is more advanced than you in that area. And expressing your good fortune, you're welcome to give them a donation. If you meet someone who's on your level, then you make friends with them. You learn from a superior, you give service, pranipatena parirshana, you inquire, you learn from them, and you give service, which can be a donation. If you don't have any money, you can do something for them. That's how you orient yourself towards a superior. If you meet someone who's a peer, who's on your same level, the proper procedure is to make friendship with them. And if you meet someone who's not as advanced as you are, for whom you're a mentor, then you give your time without putting a price tag on it. And then that student should be conscious enough to reciprocate with some dakshina. If one interacts with people in these three different ways, Narada Muni says, dukkha bhava, you can reduce all miseries, you can reduce all negative karma reactions. Gunadikam manomnapsham, anukasham manomana, maitrim samarana, nata pera babuyate. Be very pleased, serve, inquire from, learn from, and serve, and donate to a superior, make friendship with an equal, and give. Don't squander your talents. Too many people think that if they share what they have, then that person to whom they show generosity will then become a competitor. No, there's plenty of mercy to go around. God will not become bankrupt. Because God shows favor to you, it doesn't mean that he doesn't have anything left to show favor to others. Your success formula would be to make others successful. If you want to be successful at the expense of others, that will not please God. He will put all kinds of obstacles in your way, and you may make one step forward, but for every step forward, you take 2 steps back. So the secret of success is to have an abundant mentality. God is no poor man. He didn't get bankrupt by making your neighbor successful, so he'll not get bankrupt by making you successful. He didn't get bankrupt by making you successful. Neither will he get bankrupt when you help your neighbor to be successful either. So that's Stobyam, selling the holy name. One should not sell the holy name. It's not ideal. It's discouraged. It's even borders on being offensive. It draws oneself into the limelight and minimizes the all-powerful Lord. So it borders on being offensive, but still, even under those circumstances, one can destroy the results of more sins than one can commit. And then 4th category is helinum, neglectfully, accidentally. I worked for many years with a funny devotee named Madhua. I just met him in Columbus at the Festival of Colors 2 weeks ago. The temple there had hired his colorful tents and sound system for the festival. I hadn't seen Madhua in several years. But I remember in the old days, I don't know if he still has the habit, but he had some, what do they call it? Not asthma, but what is it when the pollen gets in the air and it triggers your sinuses, and particularly sneezing? It's not asthma, I don't think. I don't know what the name is. Anyone's welcome to put it in the comment section here to give me the term. But he would sneeze, and generally he would sneeze in a series of 8 sneezes. And every time he would sneeze, he would say Hare Krishna. So he's Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So you were like 1, and everybody would count 1, 2, 3. Hay fever. Thank you, Chad. Allergies, yeah, but I think hay fever is what it is. Yeah. It's not asthma, it's hay fever. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Explosive. And as you would sneeze, he would say Hare Krishna, and we would count. Everybody would look at each other and smirk. Here he goes. Here goes Madhu again. 1, 2, 3. It was always in series of 8. So even if you chant accidentally or yawning, Hare Krishna, or sometimes, we had a girl in the proper. She was taking the parrots home at the end of the day. They spend the day in an outdoor aviary, but we don't keep them out overnight because there's raccoons and possums that could burrow under the fence and kill them at night. So we bring them. So she's bringing a bird on each arm. And as she turned a corner, a peacock was startled, and the peacock flew up with a great flapping of wings and a rah, rah, like the peacocks do. And it startled the two birds. And it was all she could do to keep the two birds themselves from getting lift off. And the birds were squawking, the peacock was squawking, and feathers are flying everywhere. And she says, Hare Krishna. Yeah, well, that's not nose to the grindstone, attentive chanting. It's accidental chanting. Chanting uttered reflexively, spontaneously, as an accident is unfolding. Again, not ideal, but ashesha agam. This is your takeaway term for today. Ashesha agam means unlimited sins get washed off. Even chanting while giving directions, chanting while making fun of the Hare Krishnas, chanting while about to fall or about to get into an accidental situation, selling the chanting, making the chanting, the kirtan, like a paid musical concert, still ashesha agam, unlimited sins get washed off. Just as the people chanted during the advent of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, most of whom chanted neglectfully, accidentally, derisively. Similarly, we described yesterday how when Gajendra was roaring in the jaws of the crocodile, at the same time, in that heavenly atmosphere, the Siddhas, Apsaras, Charanas, Bidiraras, all the various elements of the demigods. Apparently, Trikuta Mountain is a vacation spot. It's like Apple vacation. It's like Club Med. It's like Sandal for the demigods. So there were, aside from Gajendra, there were a lot of people having their vacation in that area. There were Apsaras who were dancing to glorify Krishna, Vidyadharas who were chanting verses. Yashtu Narayanam Brahma Rudu Shamadbina Vikshadam Shaman. Narayana Parasarve, Nakusha, they were all chanting. The Narayan shook to the praise of Narayan. There were Gandharvas who were singing very melodiously. There was a whole crescendo of sound ascending, and the local lions heard these booming, distant sounds, and they misunderstood that other lions are coming, trying to infringe upon their territory. So the lions were roaring in response to the roaring of the demigods and the roar of Gajendra. It was imitation chanting, accidental chanting. It was chanting basically out of envy, out of the misapprehension that the roaring, the glorification of the Lord was some or other a threat to them, some or other a challenge to them, which nothing could be further from the truth. When we inaugurate, when we start our Festival of Colors, I have what I call the theme song for the Festival of Colors. It goes like this. Hey, Color Nation peeps gathered all together. Doesn't matter your station, doesn't matter the time or the weather. We gathered to love one another, share the planet respectfully. We all sisters and brothers celebrate our interdependency, giving out lots of free hugs, tucking each other to our chests. We don't need no drink or drugs to believe that you're the best. You are great beyond measure. Each and every one of you a precious living treasure. Always remember, never forget what you give is what you get. You want love, you got to give love, give love away. Hush, little darling, don't you cry. Every little thing's going to be all right. Don't you worry. Don't you be afraid. Every little thing's going to be okay. Open up your heart and break the chains. Turn the key and open the cage. Love will always find a way. Always remember, never forget what you give is what you get. You want love, you got to give love away. Love to your mother, love to your father, love to your sister, love to your Love to your sons and your daughters, love to your sister and all your friends, shine your love in all directions, giving and receiving, just like breathing, living to give love gives life meaning, because love is righteous and it might just save the world from the global crisis. Anyway, you get the idea that the practice of bhakti, the practice of Krishna consciousness exudes love. Devotees who are on the path are not envious, they're not to be perceived as competitors to any other living being. Got an incoming phone call here from West Liberty, West Virginia. Someone who wants to order colors. I will call them back in 10 minutes time at the conclusion of this talk. So this is the atmosphere that exists, all different kinds of living entities, all of them making sound, making noise for various different reasons, but every single one of them getting purified to an unimaginable degree just by intersecting with the holy name. The point is that Krishna is all good. We've given this example many times before. Krishna Surya Sama Maya Karyan Krishna Tanya Maya. Krishna is often compared to the sun, because wherever there's the sun, there's no darkness, isn't it? Maya is compared to darkness, Krishna is compared to the sun. So wherever there's the sun, there's no darkness, and wherever there's Krishna, there's no Maya. There are many things that the sun does. There are many attributes of the sun for which we should be grateful. It gives heat and light. It promotes photosynthesis through which you get oxygen. We're completely and totally dependent on the sun for our subsistence. And yet there's one thing the sun cannot do. It cannot create darkness. So wherever there's Krishna, there is auspicity. Akama, sarakama, mokshakara, tivarinam yajitam purusham pasham. Whether one is free of material desires, or whether one is sarvakama, shot through, riddled with material desires, or whether one is desirous of liberation, it is recommended that all varieties and all classes of men adopt the process of chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Kirata Hulinda Palina Bakshara Yavana Yavana Yanecha Pavana. So Janti Tajmai Pravishna, all categories of living beings get purified by the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That verse I just quoted from the second canto of the Bhagavatam talks about all different kinds of uncivilized men who live in Mongolia, who live in Africa, or Aborigines, or different backgrounds. It doesn't matter, because the chanting of the holy name is powerful enough that it will counteract the negative effects of limited backgrounds spilling over from one's previous life. And so what to speak of lower classes of uncivilized men? Here, our subject matter is a subhuman, someone who did not even make it into the human species of life, who had incarnated in a dull, insensitive body of an elephant, and yet he also, by taking the names of the Lord on the tip of his tongues during a life and death situation, he also achieved the mercy of the Lord. And his story is celebrated throughout the ages because it's inspirational to us. We also were born, appeared in America, the most degraded country with the most sinful activities rife, proliferated throughout the whole, from the West Coast to the East Coast, from the North to the South. What is that song? I forget what that song is about. America, America, America. Sinful life from shore to shore, from sea to shining sea. Yet we can take heart. We can have hope. We can have hope. We can get our hopes up. Without hope, there cannot be faith. With hope, there's faith. So the Srimad Bhagavatam hands out hope from such as Dhruva Maharaj, from such as Prahlad Maharaj, from such as Gajendra the elephant, from such as Ajamil, who was a die-hard criminal. We can get hope. Now, prema shravanari bhakti rava yatava vaishnava jnana vashubha havrakirhod hinatarikam sharam achedam malashi. Hey gopi jana biadapi haha shamari vamatu. The saying, I believe, is Kulashekar Maharaj. He said, "Now prema shravanadi, I have no love for Krishna. I have no taste, shravanadi. I have no taste for hearing about the glories of the Lord. I can't remember the Lord. I don't crave the association of devotees. I have no good works to my credit. I'm not high born. I'm not very well educated. In other words, I have no qualifications to approach the Lord. But because of the Lord's unlimited mercy, what is that? Prema Shavanadi Sudha Kubere Nakaram. I am bothered. I cannot get rid, I cannot divest myself of this hope which keeps springing up over and over and over again, that though I have no qualification, I have no claim to the lotus feet of the Lord, still I cannot repress, I cannot extinguish this hope, which in fact the Lord is always offering, the Lord is always extending unlimited hope through the stories of the ways that he exhibits his mercy to various types of devotees through the pages of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So hope springs eternal, and thank God for that. That's it for Wisdom Wednesday, and that's it for this week. We'll resume next Monday and catch us on the weekend. Also, we won't be going to Salt Lake City, but we give me a talk on Sunday in Spanish Fork Talk. Saturday night in Salt Lake City will be given by Ras Vilas Das. Let's see who we have on the sidebar here and what kind of comments there are from Facebook. Jean jumped on, followed by Brent, by Bobby, Carmen, Govinda Day, Frank, KLOPP, Klopp. Thanks for jumping on, Frank. Sundari Priya, T2, Purikayashta, frequently dropping in recently. Chad Willwright, who later on gives me the term that I was searching for, hay fever. Yes, indeed. Which is a symptom of various kinds of allergies. I got the allergy comment from Carmen by Bobby and Karen Stumminger. Yes. Mahaprabhu Das weighs in with a hearty Haribo. Mahaprabhu's an entrepreneur like myself. He does festivals. So hopefully we'll collaborate in 2024 on some color festivals. Maybe you could even come for Diwali for a week or so. We could get to know each other. We'll host you. I'll reach out to you about that. Okay. The last comment on the Facebook page is some poetry from Carmen. Here we go. It's true, it takes two to make you. One is the sum of what you have done. Take without grace, you've forsaken your place. Two's the sadhu who sings free for you. But even when these parts fall apart, Krishna lives in the heart. So she's going through the types of inattentive chanting and then concluding that even with that less than ideal chanting, there's great benefits. Once again, it's true, it takes two to make you. One is the sum of what you've done. Take without grace, you've forsaken your place. Two's the sadhu who sings free for you. But even when these parts fall apart, Krishna lives in the heart. We've got some very talented wordsmiths here. Let's go over to Rob. Rob, do you have some similar type of verses you can share with us this morning?
Hare Krishna, I don't think I need to. I think she just kind of summed up everything in that one phrase.
Come on, I know you've got some nectar. Don't withhold it from us.
I'll give it to you. Lord Chaitanya was so kind to strive to leave no soul behind.
Excellent.
Whether furiously chanting seriously or in derision and perversion, you still get benefit whichever way you do it.
That's the point.
Chanting may be incidental, accidental, or intentional, whichever way it's transcendental.
Nice play of words there.
You will be changed and not the same, even when chanting the name for fame or gain.
Again, right on.
There's plenty of mercy to be found, more than enough, or excuse me, there's plenty of mercy to be found, more than enough to go around.
Exactly.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna will not bankrupt. Well, thank you all for being with us. We'll look forward to rejoining you next Monday with more of the ongoing pastimes and insights that we squeeze from this beautiful, beautiful pastime from the 8th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. In the meantime, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.